The most persistent misconception about MVPs is that they are simply a faster, cheaper version of the real product. They are not. When treated that way, they become expensive detours, ones that delay the products that actually matter and quietly erode the credibility of the teams behind them. A properly conceived MVP does something far more valuable. It answers the most important question before significant capital is committed. NIX Solution Group has worked with organizations ranging from Fortune 500 companies to rapidly scaling tech firms. Across those engagements, 7 failure patterns emerge, regardless of company size or industry. This video breaks down each one. Before examining where teams go wrong and how to fix it, it's worth establishing why MVP delivery is difficult in the first place. In an enterprise context, pressure for rapid progress often leads teams to skip or compress foundational phases that are essential for a functional product. Coordinating numerous stakeholders across product, engineering, compliance, sales, and leadership is difficult, as they often have conflicting timelines and definitions of success for a lean product. Quick MVP stage decisions have long-term effects. Enterprises must balance fast delivery with existing infrastructure, integrations, and maintenance needs. Each of the 7 failure patterns examined in this video is a direct consequence of one or more of these pressures going unmanaged. Understanding these patterns is what lets you address them structurally, rather than treating each failure as an isolated incident. The most critical mistake in MVP development is starting without clearly defined goals. NIX Solution Group sees even mature organizations struggle to answer a straightforward question. What problem are we solving, and how will success be measured? Stakeholder alignment on scope, assumptions, and success criteria should happen in a structured cross-functional workshop. Without clarity, teams cannot prioritize features, align stakeholders, or evaluate outcomes. The result is scope creep, miscommunication, and a product that neither satisfies business objectives nor delivers user value. The discipline required here is not to get tempted to measure what's easily measurable. Page views, total signups, app downloads. They go up, they feel good, but they don't answer the question an MVP is supposed to answer. Is this thing solving the problem? A properly scoped MVP begins with a precise, evidence-backed hypothesis. For example, enable users to schedule appointments in under 2 minutes and reduce drop-offs. That is a testable statement. Establish measurable criteria: user activation rates, task completion times, workflow conversion, before development begins. Critically, those metrics should be tied to learning outcomes, not vanity metrics. Under pressure to show progress, teams routinely neglect or entirely skip the discovery phase. The logic is understandable. Discovery feels like a delay, but the organizations that skip it trade a week of research for months of rework. On the other hand, extensively delaying delivery also doesn't serve the product. Effective discovery is lean by design. It draws on qualitative methods, user interviews, contextual inquiry, competitor analysis, to surface real user problems. It maps user personas and journeys to identify friction points and feature opportunities. And critically, it validates demand through landing pages, clickable prototypes, or A/B tests that expose users to the value proposition in its context. Some teams overload the MVP, attempting to address every user segment, or others strip the scope so aggressively that the product no longer solves the core problem. Both approaches delay validation and increase the risk of launching something that fails to generate actionable feedback. A well-prioritized MVP is built around a single value proposition. Every feature either directly supports that proposition or it waits. NIX product teams apply structured frameworks to evaluate features objectively and remove opinion-driven scope creep from the process. Features are then mapped against the user journey to ensure the MVP delivers a coherent end-to-end experience. Collecting user feedback is a core function of MVP delivery. Managing it without a clear strategy is one of the more subtle ways a product loses its direction. Teams go off track reacting to every comment, every feature request, every piece of input, regardless of its source or relevance to what the MVP was designed to test. Clearly define what needs to be learned before collecting feedback. Is the team testing usability, value perception, workflow clarity? That framing will help separate signal from noise. Equally important is segmenting responses by user profile and focusing on the ones coming from target users. When MVPs are treated as throwaway prototypes, teams default to the fastest available tools. Then, a product requires a rewrite, typically at the worst possible time, when it is gaining traction and engineering capacity is already constrained. Select technologies that support modular development, scalability, and cloud-native deployment. It means adopting an API-first approach and accounting for third-party integrations from the outset, particularly important in enterprise environments where downstream system connectivity is not optional. Enterprise engineering teams are typically structured and optimized for maintaining and evolving established systems, where thoroughness, process adherence, and stability are the priorities. MVP delivery inverts this, requiring rapid iteration under uncertainty, decisive trade-offs with incomplete information, and the ability to say, good enough for now. For organizations whose internal teams lack specific capabilities or are operating at capacity, external partners with dedicated MVP delivery experience can fill those gaps without sacrificing speed. The concierge MVP model, in which tailored, hands-on service is provided directly to initial users, is an approach that benefits certain business contexts with limited team bandwidth. Stakeholder disagreement often doesn't stay in the meeting room and projects onto the roadmap, eventually impacting delivery. The challenge is not eliminating disagreement, it is preventing politics from becoming a delivery problem. Create a shared roadmap and a single documented source of truth for goals, scope, and decision-making authority. Regular sprint reviews and milestone demos maintain transparency and momentum without creating unnecessary overhead. Across these 7 failure patterns, there is a theme. MVP failures are rarely about the idea. Clarity of objectives, rigor of discovery, scope discipline, feedback hierarchy, foresight and technology choice, team composition, and organizational alignment are the 7 requirements for a successful MVP project. NIX's solution group, drawing on 23 years of delivery experience, has observed that the organizations that navigate these challenges most effectively treat their MVP as a precise, disciplined experiment. And that discipline is what makes the MVP outcome commercially valuable either way, a validated foundation for full-scale investment or an early signal to redirect resources from a wrong bet.